So, how did we go from a steady release of Prince material since 2016 to little or nothing at all? I'm Richard Cole. This is Amari Music Talk, and that will be today's topic. And of course, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're a long-time listener, welcome back. And this episode started with an article, one of the longtime listeners of, starting with Amari Purple Talk, but also of Amari Music Talk as well. VAs Christian, a longtime friend to the channel. He wrote an article. I'm going to share that link in the show notes. But the title is Road to Day 7. And it's a very detailed, investigative article, just tracing the history of the Prince releases that we've had and some of the behind the scenes intrigue and drama that has affected releases pretty much during the steady stream and even now with so little material. As this article was released, this was leading up to the release of the two tracks, All Is Shared Together Now and 7 in E Flat, that were released by the Prince Estate on streaming. My review is on another episode. I have that link available as well. And you know, it's gotten a little, the fact that there's nothing that's being done by the estate, and I get it. It's this is the music business, not we always agree with every decision the fans make business. I get that. But I've never seen the amount of division that has gone on within this fan base over the release of an artist that, wasn't always a perfect person, but consistently at least tried to bring some kind of positivity into an already divisive world. Like I said, the article, I recommend that you read it. It goes into a lot of different areas. It covers the releases. It also really opened my eyes to a few things about some of the releases that I didn't know. I was just listening happily, like, cool, we got new Prince stuff, and like, oh yeah, there's that going on with it. But yeah, there's a significant difference between, I would say, maybe starting with 2017 or maybe late 2016 with the release of Forever, and then the infamous Purple Rain Super Deluxe. There's been a significant difference between those things and getting a Sign of the Times Super Deluxe 1999. You can see those things behind me there. Next to the 1999 is my original copy of Emancipation, an original copy of Crystal Ball, and then the One Night Alone or Up All Night set that was just released. So I kind of position those there, and I don't know if you can kind of see just in front of Sign of the Times are kind of my MP3 copies of the stuff I got from the MPG Music Club, the Chocolate Invasion, Slaughterhouse. Next to that is the Prince and the Revolution Live. And the article talks about the Prince and the Revolution Live as well. How we've had that release twice This is the second, but to me, this is the best out of the two. It was logical for the first release to be bundled with the Purple Rain Super Deluxe. I get it. That was cool, and it was really nice to have, and I was happy with that. At least one of the things I was happy about the Purple Rain Super Deluxe. But this release to me is it outclasses that DVD a million times over. Plus you get CD as well to listen to. But yeah, so major differences between then and now is covered in the article. To me, one of the takeaways from it, going over each and every one of the releases, there was a lot of good, and there were some bad ones as well. But to me, I think it was just due to lack of planning. Today, as I'm recording this, there was someone put out on Twitter. They were sharing their Bob Dylan. It was one of the bootleg series, and it covered some of the later Bob Dylan eras, from I think late 80s up until maybe 2004 or something like that. And one of the things that I enjoyed about that was that he shared the post, didn't backhand anyone with, yeah, this is the best and all the rest suck. No, it was just like, hey, this is my favorite era, doesn't get enough attention. I love it. And then I'm going through the comments, and where if this was a Prince release, then there'd be some detractors that are on it. But everything was peaceful. It was like, oh yeah, I agree, that was a great era. Yeah, it doesn't get enough attention. And then there were others that were more familiar with just the classic era of Bob Dylan, thinking that, hey, he's just a 60s and 70s artist. And it was like, oh, I've never heard that. Oh, I'm going to have to check that out. Heck, I even want to check it out. And that's the beauty of a fan base. Now, granted, you're not going to like every single thing. But when I look at, say if, I'll tell you probably one of the more controversial things now is the Beatles. They're going to finally release something. Rumor has it that it's the track Now and Then that they were working on for the anthology. But they're going to utilize AI. But people that misunderstood thought like, oh, they're going to do like a lot of what the fans are doing with AI and just recreating John Lennon's voice out of, algorithms. But no, they're just going to use it to clean it up. But that is the most negative thing that I've heard from Beatles fans. If I would say maybe take the last release, Revolver, that's Super Deluxe Edition or box set. There were people that really enjoyed, or just overall, just what Giles Martin has been doing with those, Super Deluxe editions for the Beatles. There are a lot of people that love them, and then there are people that aren't too crazy about them, but they just voice like, hey, I'm not too crazy about that, and just let it go. They're not putting down another Beatles fan for enjoying it. I don't get the division, but maybe some of that is because there is no coherent plan, or no one's even sharing a plan. It's just like, oh, we're going to have an announcement. We're going to have an announcement. Oh, we're going to drop these 2 tracks. And it's like, well, there's no significance. I mean, like, I would say, take for instance, when they released the Do Me Baby 45, I think there was the demo version, and I think the B-side is like the official release studio version of it. That didn't cause like a civil war, so to speak, of Prince fandom. It was just like some people were like, oh, that's great. some people are like, oh, they're focusing on the 80s again. Why? And I get it. I get it. You know, what I've noticed about, say, I would say taking the Dylan fan base, because that's probably one of the artists that has had just as much longevity as Prince, and had gone through so many different eras, and each era did come with a certain amount of controversy, a certain amount of division amongst his fan base. But I see where maybe it's not a conscious pattern, but you know, if I see an announcement for I think going over the last 7-8 years, there was one release that focused on 1965 to 1966, and the recordings that made up the albums that released around that time, like I think Blonde on Blonde, I think maybe Bringing It Back Home, those albums, and then whatever the live shows were at that time, there was the focus on that. And then the next set of releases, it focused on the Rolling Thunder tour. You know, there was a big box set of the complete tour. There was releases covering the sessions, which yielded oh shoot, I'm drawing a blank on the Blood on the Tracks. So it was covering that era. And then some of the more recent ones focused on his early 80s material. I think there was one that covered, went back and, yeah, there was one like early 80s. There was one that covered like later 80s period. One of the more recent ones was Time Out of Mind, which was like 90s. So, you know, they make sure they cover everybody. And I think because we don't have that type of consistency, we don't have that type of plan that's in place, that it's causing this unnecessary frustration. And it's like, yeah, you want new product, you know. But like I've always maintained, you know, if the man was still walking the planet and he was still in the position and in good health and still making music, you know good and well that he would want you to focus on whatever album he is putting out tomorrow. And what's in the vault is in the vault. And whether he takes the track out and remixes it and makes it better or redoes it, is the only way you're going to hear that outside of a crappy little cassette or a crappy little CD or a crappy little MP3 of a bootleg. And all we'd be doing is sitting here dreaming about, like, oh, what if we had a Sign of the Times box set? You know, we'd be just dreaming about it. It would not be in existence unless, you know, he had a surefire way to do it differently. And even if he did, like what held up the Purple Rain release for so long, that you know you would have gotten it without Erotic City. You know you would have. So, again, you know, let's kind of stop all the division. It's okay to like what you like. It's okay to enjoy a certain album. Music is subjective. You know, what you like, I might not like. What I like, you may not like. You know, it's all subjective, and that's okay. You've heard me rag about Planet Earth, that album, for, you know, longtime listeners of the original Amari Purple Talk show. You've heard me rag on that album constantly. And I don't hate the album. I do like 2 or 3 tracks, and that's the beauty about going on the Prince journey. Not every album is a winner. There are some albums I like, and it's not era specific. It's just that, okay, we'll take Around the World in a Day. There are things that I enjoy about that album, but there was a lot as it was unfolding in real time. As I was listening to it in 1985, you know, the minute I bought the Raspberry Beret single, which had She's Always in My Hair on the B-side, it was like, why isn't She's Always in My Hair on Around the World Today? They could have taken out whatever track and put that in there. And same for Hello. It's like, oh no, that should have been on the album instead of whatever. You know, say, going to cause a lot of controversy with this, but yeah, you could have yanked Paisley Park off of there and put Hello in there, or you could have put She's Always in My Hair in there, and I would have been like, yes, this is the best album ever. But I still enjoy listening to it, and to be honest, a box set or super deluxe edition of Around the World in a Day, I would enjoy it better than, I would say, even a Parade Super Deluxe. And I really would like a Parade Super Deluxe. So, get off that rant about division. There's enough division. We're not going to do that on this show. So, but lack of a plan, I think, you know, and all the unnecessary secrecy, I think is what is fueling the negative energy, because you're dealing with, like I said, it's still a heavy loss, and even 7 some odd years later, you know, people are processing it differently, you know, and yeah, having a new release to come out for some may be just a bit cathartic, you know. For others, it's just like, yeah, they're anxious to fill their collections, to build their collections. You know, but like I said, and then you turn around, you look at, like I said, the Beatles have got stuff coming out. You got Hendrix, like I said, since 1996, their estate has just been on point. Now, I'm a second generation Hendrix fan, second generation Beatles fan. And I've studied the history, I've read the books, watched the documentaries. But that's things that fuel my enjoyment of their work. It doesn't take away from the validity of someone that was going or living through those times and experiencing those records in real time. You know, when you come in as second, third, fourth generation, it's unfolding for you where you get the totality of that artist's journey. You know, if it's something that's finite, or in the case of Prince, you know, if he was still kicking it in the 90s and that's where you jumped in because you were 15, 16, 14, 12, 10, you know, it's unfolding for you the same way as whatever contemporary artist that is of your generation is hitting you at that same time, and you're holding on to it, maybe not exactly the same as what's contemporary, but your senses are dialed to 11, and especially at those ages, you know, you're not processing wisdom, or you getting, you know, you're at a certain level of maturity that's evolving. And when you talk about songs being the soundtrack of one's life, it doesn't always necessarily mean that it's whatever's contemporary. It's just the difference is with artists of the past, you have where it's already happened, and you have the totality of the representation of that memory. But it doesn't take away the validity of somebody that was at the age you were back then, when one day there was no such thing as I Want to Hold Your Hand, and then the next day there was. There was no, you know, Revolver or Sergeant Pepper up until a certain point, and bam, it unfolded. You're both listening to it at, you know, experiencing it for the first time, but it's hitting different. It's hitting differently. One is the historical perspective, the other it's unfolding in real time. And like I said, whatever artist that is doing it for you in this generation, yeah, then when those second, third generation fans get switched on, you know, so it's our responsibility to, you know, like I said, not hinder our, I don't know, how should I say, not hinder someone else's enjoyment, whether they're second, third, fourth generation, not hinder it with whatever hang-ups that we may still be inadvertently holding on to, because being 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 was so magnificent or so whatever, that those songs as they were unfolding hit you at a time when you needed it, whether it's positive or negative with that. So again, that's my soapbox on the division. Let's not go there anymore, at least not on this show. But another takeaway from this is the Welcome to America, to where VAs pointed out, it was great that we had it, but it not without its limitations. That it couldn't be padded with some bonus discs for the, or not bonus discs, but bonus tracks for the vinyl. The source material for the release of this, apparently not a lot of it was sourced from the original master tapes, apparently. So this is why I got to go back and listen to Welcome to America again, because I was kind of buzzed off the enjoyment of its new Prince product. I bought the deluxe edition, the vinyl and the CD and the Blu-ray, and I was probably just so caught up in the hype that I don't know. But they said for some, the difference may be listening through headphones versus your speakers. Like, you notice the kind of flaws if you listen through headphones. But I'm going to re-listen to both vinyl and CD and do a comparison video for that. So be sure to hit like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, become a Patreon supporter so you don't miss that episode. The fact that we haven't had any new releases, major releases, again, this is the article is written leading up to the release of the 2 new Prince tracks that were originally released to people that attended Celebration, but now it's available on streaming worldwide now. But yeah, I think, we just got so used to, okay, here's the 1999 Super Deluxe. Okay, next year here's 1999. Okay, or here's Sign of the Times. Okay, next is Welcome to America. Here's originals. Here's Piano and Microphone 83. Here's this. Here's that. And all of a sudden it just grinds to a halt, and then there's like, oh well, we're going to announce something in Celebration. Nope. Came and went. Nothing happened. There's going to be big announcement 2023. Well, 2023, it's a little more than halfway gone now. Now we're hearing something that there will be a major announcement coming in August. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. But yeah, it does address, why there aren't any or haven't been new releases. There's been some regime changes within the estate, power struggles, and again, I think some of that negative energy from even some of the bickering amongst that has filtered down to the Prince fandom. But hopefully that'll change. So, speaking, how has that changed for me buying Prince music? Again, you'll see my review of the 2 new Prince tracks. I do like them. I'll get into what I think is, I don't know, maybe where the tracks I would have led off with myself if I was in charge of the estate, or is this one of those, we're just putting this out to let you know, hey, okay, coming soon, there's going to be something even bigger. If you like these, you'll love what's coming next with that. But as far as the review of the tracks, that video will be up as well. But I would say with the combination of no announcements, the criticism, the responses to, in a lot of cases, constructive criticism, the division amongst the fan base. It has been very difficult to try to be positive, to do a show like this and try to be positive about it. There's so many other estates or artists that still work that are cashing out that I worry about more. I think Prince is legendary enough. I think the estate on some level is capable enough to try to give us something of some quality and consistency, and those releases can stand up to whatever Dylan is doing, or whatever Hendrix is doing, or whatever Frank Zappa's doing. I think it has the potential to either stand up to, or even in a lot of cases even rival those. I would like to see even like a website, like what Neil Young has, or I hear like Springsteen has, where you pay a yearly fee and you have access to everything. I'd like to see that coming from the Prince estate as well. But yeah, I've just been content just listening to what I have. It's in addition to these 2 new tracks, I'm trying to think what was the last thing that I really listened to. I made a playlist that kind of combined some things that I really loved about Artificial Age, and combined that with things that I really loved about Prince, the Hit and Run Phase 1 and Phase 2. That's about the last thing that I've listened to Prince-wise. Earlier in the spring, and I almost started to do a series of episodes around this, but I couldn't figure out how to make it more interesting than just the initial concept. And it was where I found myself listening to Crystal Ball on shuffle on a Sunday afternoon going into evening. Just had some time to kick back and relax a little bit. And just how that particular project hit me differently with the songs on shuffle, as opposed to what I've been used to hearing them in, their, exact track order. And then I think maybe a couple of weeks after that, I listened to New Power Soul. I didn't put that one on shuffle, but I did listen to that from beginning to end on a Sunday again. I had time to kind of kick back and just relax for a little bit. And again, just, I guess whether it was because it was Sunday or I just had time to be peaceful and just listen to those tracks, it's New Power Soul isn't one of my favorites, but a lot of it has grown on me probably in the last 10-15 years. And just that last listen to it, again, just because maybe I just had more time to take it all in and enjoy it. Like I said, it hit differently. But yeah, that's just about it. Like I said, it's been harder to try to come up with interesting episodes because of the lack of inactivity. It's not like, if I did a show, say on comic book movies, there's always announcements, there's always casting announcements, or this is in production, that's in production, or the movie's out, let's review it. It's unfortunately it's not like that, where it was hard because we didn't have him in real time to where we could react to certain things, whether it's a new album, or if he's going on tour, or if he's come to your town to tour, or my town to tour. It's different, and I think we were really happy with the steady stream of releases because it did give us something interesting to talk about, or you know, speculate, because now we got this one. It was almost like comic book movies, you know, where it's like, okay, well, we got the Sign of the Times Super Deluxe. What could be next? You know, what would be better? Parade, Diamonds and Pearls, this, you know, there is that. But then again, there's now this void, and it just hits different. It just really hits different now. And like I said, I can do without the negativity. I can do without the division. You know, like I said, there's somebody, Twitter, and that kind of misrepresented what I was complimenting the guy with the Bob Dylan. I was complimenting that, and complimenting the fact that those first, second generation fans, because part of there was also somebody, might be confusing that with a different post, but yeah, there was somebody that made the comment about, I guess, first generation fans being upset because they're not getting any younger. And you know, that's a fact, but I didn't come through this journey to stress about how I'm never going to hear, I don't know, let's just say, I know we're probably going to get a Purple Rain Super Deluxe, hopefully for a 40th anniversary. Maybe Diamonds and Pearls might be the next one immediately, you know, like before the end of this year. Trying to think of something, because I've got Sign of the Times, that's my favorite. In 1999, I'm pretty happy with. But I don't know, for lack of a better, I'm trying to think what well, let's put it this way: a 90s sort of Super Deluxe that covers the complete 1993 to 1994 sessions. Let's just say by the time we're done with Purple Rain, by the time we're, you know, Diamonds and Pearls, by the time maybe the Symbol album, maybe after all of that we'll finally get Parade. Maybe there'll be some remastered, reissued original CDs. By the time we go through all of that stuff, all the Prince Netflix documentary, don't forget that. By the time we go through all of that, say like maybe 10, 15 years from now, they'll get around to doing a box set that covers 1993 to 1995. So, let's see, so 57, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72? Yeah, well, you know, if I stay in shape and eat right and, you know, if it comes out and I'm 75, cool. Cool. I'm going to be buying it, you know, we'll still have physical media. I'll probably still get it on physical media. Whether it's the implant that I got to put in my ear to, you know, or the nanotechnology where I insert the nanite into the brain and experience all the music and the videos. You know, I will be happy, but, you know, not to be macabre, but if not, it doesn't mean that today is lacking, because I don't have that. I'm grateful, like I said, the journey, you know, to be born in '66 and to be around when Prince was unfolding in real time. You know, starting in July of 1978, bad case of insomnia that week, and listening to the radio and hearing Soft and Wet, but they never said who the artist was or what the song was even. But I just remembered that groove being so tough that by the time I realized who it was or found out who it was, like, that's the dude, that's the song. But by then I was a Prince fan. I wasn't crazy about the second album. I just didn't really care to know then. And like I said, if it wasn't for the set of circumstances in which I was hearing the Dirty Mind album at 15, if it wasn't for that, then I probably wouldn't be doing this show today. But yeah, we heard that in the middle of 1981, and like within a couple of months, Controversy dropped on the radio. Heard that for the first time on the radio. And ever since then, it has been a journey. Now, I don't agree with every album or every track. I didn't agree with a lot of his choices, even in the classic era. There were some choices like, what? What are you doing? You know, there were a lot of really crazy choices, but the beauty of it was looking for, even if it was a project that didn't hit, like I said, Around the World in a Day wasn't my favorite. There are things I liked on it, but I was always looking forward to what was next, because that was the album, if anything else, what it taught me was that I was never going to get the same album from this dude twice. Meaning that, cool, Purple Rain was cool, but maybe I would have preferred had he gone back to some of the sounds on 1999. But Around the World Today taught me otherwise. And lo and behold, here comes Parade. And it was like, whoa, okay. And I love Parade more than I love Around the World Today. And nothing could have prepared me for Sign of the Times. I may have tried to imagine, like, what if he had more, maybe not sound like the 70s, but kind of utilize some of that, like maybe heavy wah guitar pedal sound, and then boom, here comes Sign of the Times. And it's like, whoa, he did do that. Maybe not the whole album per se, but yeah, but like I said, that nothing prepared me for the greatness of what that album was at that time. And I can just go on and on, but like I said, from Around the World in a Day, I knew I wasn't going to get the same album twice. So even if you understood the reasons why the Come album became what it became, or something like a Chaos and Disorder, it was just like, you know, he's going to do something next, always. And I'm okay with that. I'm fine with that. You know, it doesn't mean that I'm not hopeful, not excited, that I can't speculate. Hell, this is why part of the reason that this show exists. It's to speculate. Like, what is he going to do? You know, what's going to happen next? You know, that's fun to do, but let's keep it fun. You know, let's not, again, keep the division out of it. But yeah, like I said, I think that person misunderstood where I was coming from with that. You know, it's kind of like I said, music is subjective. What you dig, you dig. What you don't dig. But it was like in relationship to the 2 new tracks or whatever, and it's like it had nothing to do with the 2 new tracks. It was just, that's just a fact of life. You know, there are Beatles fans that aren't happy with some of the stuff that comes out, but like I said, I don't see them shouting down the majority, because like I said, it's a thing where I think even they understand that if this division keeps going, then there's no way to gauge for the Prince estate to gauge on what to do next. You know, well, if we come out with Diamonds and Pearls, they're going to hate it. If we come out with Parade, it's part of the classic 80s material, but they're going to hate it. You know, it's, you know, there's always going to be something. And like I said, no estate is without its flaws. You know, there are going to be typos on a particular project. May not be every project, but there'll be that one. It could be a Beatles record. There'll be a typo, or there'll be a manufacturing flaw. There was the Jackson 5 Motown had remastered their catalog, and this was I forgot when these actually came out, but I remember getting them, and this is before they remastered them and reissued them again in 2010. That much I remember. But they, in this particular case, they had bundled them, so you had like 2 albums on one CD, and it was the one that had Skywriter and Get It Together. And if you buy that, they used to call them twofers back then. If you bought that, then it if you listen to the opening track, Get It Together, when you got to that song, there's a flaw in it. It skips. And you think like, oh my God, I bought a scratch CD, and you check it and there's nothing wrong with the CD. But it turns out every single CD manufactured has that glitch that's in it. The Purple Rain Super Deluxe, Erotic City, the long version, it has like a technical glitch that's in it. Those things are bound to happen even with some of the most perfect estates. But hopefully few and far between. There's a lot that I think have been mistake-free. But like I said, there's going to be a typo here and there. There's always going to be something that's flawed, and then, you know, they'll catch it, reissue it with, you know, mistake-free, and then that flaw is going to become like a collector's item, and, you know, just hang on to it, and then in about 25, 30 years sell it on eBay. You know, send your kids to college, and you'll be good. But, yeah, you know, I think that was the misunderstanding about the first generation, second generation thing on that. So let's keep it peaceful. But yeah, how it's affected me, like I said, I'm sure that whenever they announce something big, I'll be excited, and depending on what it is and what's going to be on it, I'm going to be excited for it. But right now, it's just kind of this weird limbo. Like I said, I, you know, just hate being on Twitter now, and, you know, I, you know, really just need to get away from that. And like I said, it's been more fun just sitting back and just kind of listening to the stuff that I've got. So, other than that, like I said, 2 new tracks, get to those in another episode. But after that, what's next? Like I said, we're going to get something in August, or not get something, but an announcement will be made in August, which means that something may drop around probably October or around that time. And I hope it makes everyone happy. I hope that it's something that we can all rally behind and enjoy it and celebrate it, because that's the thing. And I mean, even Prince knew that you're not going to like every single album, but somebody is going to buy at least one. So I'm going, you know, so depending on what's on it, hopefully I'll be excited for it. But what's most important is, what do you think? Again, check out this article. Like I said, it covers a lot of ground. And a lot of the frustrations, it talks about that. But, you know, it's okay to be frustrated. It's understandable that you're frustrated. Like I said, they're not really doing anything. Like I said, it's not that they owe us anything, but at the same time, it's like they probably need somebody better in marketing or promotion or whatever to get the fan base unified and on board with what you're doing. Because, like I said, it's going to hurt the fan base, because you're not going to get a lot of new material. It's going to hurt them because you'll have so many dissatisfied customers that they're not going to turn up to buy the product or support the project. So let's hope that they get it together. Let's hope that, you know, we'll get an announcement. And like I said, hopefully that announcement will unify us, and that, you know, they're just not off in some cloud somewhere thinking like everything they do is just going to make us happy. And as you can see with all this crazy division, you know, that's not the case. But like I said, we can change that. You know, if you listen to the show, you're listening because you're not buying into that stuff, you know. And if you are, hopefully a show like this will put you at ease. There's a lot of positive podcasts where we just celebrate the music. You know, check out past episodes that I've done. Check out a lot of the other ones. You know, Michael Dean. Check out Prince's Friend. Check out Nisi. Check out a lot of the other podcasts. Chris Johnson with the Purple Knights podcast. Press Rewind. Prince Lyrics podcast. You know, A lot of the people that I have on the show, you know, from Ricky Wyatt to PC Munoz. PC Munoz has worked with Dr. Fink. He's worked with Jackson Brown too. But both of these guys are musicians, you know, and we celebrate the music, you know. Like I said, with the other artists too. Like I said, I worry about what's, you know, there hasn't been a lot of stuff, new stuff, James Brown, even though a lot of that stuff had been remastered and reissued, and he's had box sets, and his catalog has been brought back to life while he was still here. And there have been some vinyl releases, and I think a few CD releases, but not to the same magnitude as it was when he was, you know, in the 90s, when you had the James Brown box set. And like I said, a lot of his original albums were issued on CD. You know, I worry about now that his estate has cashed out, I think to the tune of 90 million. But, you know, I hope that's a number that is satisfactory for them, that is okay for them, and then that's what they truly want. But at the same time, what's going to happen to James Brown releases going forward? And James Brown, to me, you know, even more so than any Beatles or any Bob Dylan, as great as those cats are, James Brown deserves, you know, remastered and reissued catalog and super deluxe edition. Ooh, man, can you imagine? Let's see, a super deluxe edition of, I don't know, any of the 70s output would be amazing. But even late 60s, they had, and I've got a few of them. They're hard to find now, and what you do find, they are very expensive. But the last great thing that they've done was the James Brown singles series. And it covered, you know, just all of the singles, you know, it would cover, like, each one would cover like about a year or 2 years time. And I was lucky enough to get some of the ones that counted, like 69, 70, 71, 72, and I think I've got 72, 73. I was lucky enough to get those at a really cheap price. But like I said, when you go online, Amazon, Discogs, wherever, to try to find these, you can't even find them for even 20 bucks now. You know, a lot of them are 30, 40, 50, even in the hundreds now. And especially, like I said, that kind of classic James from like 65 to 75. Yeah, to find those volumes, yeah, they're expensive. So I worry about that. I know Tina Turner, before she passed, I guess her and her husband, they negotiated where they cashed out to the tune of 150 million. And again, you know, now granted, you know, I say the difference between Tina Turner and James Brown is that Tina didn't write a lot of her music. So 150 million, I guess if they own the masters, I get it. But, you know, as to just me personally, as one of the absolute icons of rock and roll, you know, in my mind, I feel like, yeah, she deserves, you know, 200, 300, 400 million like Bob Dylan and Bruce Springsteen. But again, I hope that's a number that they were happy with. But again, I'm going to wonder, and I'm not, you know, not talking about the Ike and Tina stuff. I did kind of research that. That stuff is in a bunch of different hands. The actual physical release stuff is in control in one place. Ike had sold the unreleased stuff for whatever deal that he could get. But, you know, the stuff where we see no Tina as Tina, the, you know, the Private Dancer period, and, you know, the Simply the Best, those albums, I don't know if she owns the master, or she owned the masters to those, But I guess, 150 million, and you're talking about just a handful of albums. I guess that's fair. Where, like I said, it's Dylan and Springsteen, and they wrote and produced every album, and you're talking albums, multiple albums over, whether the classic period is 20 years, but then even the totality of their career, 40, 50-year period, I guess 400, 500 is fair. But again, where I keep seeing these so-called legends, even say like the Rolling Stones, or all these legends, and every time you turn around there's a special release of this and a box set of that. And I wonder, where's James Brown's, where's Tina Turner's going to be? Where's Cameo they're going to be? Zap, Hendrix, I don't worry about, because like I said, the Hendrix estate has been consistent from 1996 when the family regained control of the Hendrix material. They've been going toe to toe with all these legends, and of course Hendrix is one of the legends, the legend. But what's going to happen to Prince now? Look at what's happened with Michael Jackson's material, let alone how they've just swept the Jacksons and the Jackson 5, just not even a footnote now. So I wonder what happens after that. Where are their box sets? Where are their super deluxe editions? They all sold just as much, and in a lot of cases, if not more, than some of these so-called legends. So, what's going to happen next? Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts on that. And that will end this episode of Amari Music Talk. Tune in for the next episode, and do that by clicking like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, become a Patreon supporter. And by being a Patreon supporter, you will get early access to episodes like this, as well as bonus content. And there's still some bonus content that has not been released to the wider audience. So become a supporter and check that out. Or join at the higher tiers, the $20, $25 tier. You get all those perks, and you get to have a voice on whatever episode. If you want me to do a special episode about your favorite Prince album, or your favorite album period or artist, join at those tiers. And you will also get free t-shirt. So thanks once again for tuning in. Catch you next time, and until then, create your day and create your life. Peace.